From the Homestead Studios in Santa Clarita, California, this is a Headache Soul production. Welcome to Just the Tip-Sters, America's favorite true crime podcast. I'm your host, Melissa Morgan. With me today is my handsome and talented co-host, Joshua Declassified Bevan.
Declassified?
Yes.
So I was classified at
you
one
were,
point?
and then you just let it all hang out.
Okay.
Yeah, you just let the public... Everyone gets a file folder, and they just know everything.
I mean, sure.
I think that fits.
it's fair.
Yeah, I think that's fair too. All right. So I just want you to know that even though you read the not great 4-star review, we have had many people come to your defense.
Oh, well, thank you.
Kathleen commented on last week's Patreon episode. There are many listeners that are grateful that Joshua is here.
Oh, thank you, Kathleen.
So I'm not like calling Kathleen out, but I'm going to say that Joshua is the Matt Rife of podcasting because he's got like a whole cougar nation. I'm not even sure of Kathleen's age, but I mean, she could be like 27, but I'm just saying you got a bunch of cougars on your side.
I'll take it.
Okay. Joshua's Cougar Nation, who are like, hey, that reviewer is ridiculous.
Oh, well, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the that was the comment.
Yeah, that reviewer's terrible. So speaking of that, if you would like to give us a rating or review, we would be so grateful to you. Please feel free to do so on whatever platform you're streaming. But if you happen to be on Apple Podcasts, that's apparently where people find us. If you don't feel like giving us a written review, you can always just give us a rating, 1 to 5 stars. Please don't give us a 1 star. Literally, so few people deserve a 1 star.
I don't know. I listened to a few this weekend.
Before we started recording, Joshua was like, this podcast sounds a lot better than other people. And I, thank Mark Humphreys for that. But honestly, if you have a computer and a larynx, you can, create a podcast. But take time and put effort into it and make it not sound like shit.
Yeah.
We have good microphones, and I think that's probably the biggest investment one would have to make is a decent microphone.
Right. It
makes a huge difference.
Yeah.
It just is, it's ridiculous to me when people, like Joshua was saying, something he listened to sounded like they were recording a phone call.
It was like two guys on a phone call.
Like 1987.
They hit record on
their like close and play.
And I really wanted the content,
the information.
So I sat through it, but I did not subscribe. And I also didn't give them bad reviews. I moved on.
Move on. That's the thing. So few people deserve like really shitty, low reviews unless they just are really doing something that's egregious or misinformation or, I just have such a split mind when it comes to like ratings and reviews. It just, Anyway, if you could give us one that you think is fair,
a fair review.
We would be very grateful for that. It helps people find us. And Joshua was saying, even the ones that aren't great, it's boosting up the algorithm.
I think so.
I think you're right.
Yeah.
I absolutely think you're right. So maybe some of Joshua's Cougar Nation could give us a review. It's
Come on out.
It's like, hey, there's a woman who talks, but the real important thing to listen to is the guy. Joshua is...
the guy who breathes funny.
Yeah. Weird... Was it weird breathing noises?
Weird breathing noises.
Yeah, I thought it was weird mouth
noises.
Or
weird mouth noises.
No, it was weird breathing. I think you're right. I've never once heard you breathe on this podcast. Never once.
I hold my breath. I walk in.
Yes, I know you do.
Siren. I take a big breath.
You turn burgundy.
and then
you exhale it when you're like,
for that whole...
So anyway, what happened with the guy? Yeah. I've never heard you make weird breathing noises. It's the craziest shit. But you know what? People hear what they want to hear, I guess. I don't know. Super weird. So I wanted to say thank you to Malaysia for putting us on the true crime charts there for Apple. I know
another spot for our tour.
Yeah, we're going to the UAE, Australia, and Malaysia. No, New Zealand. The UAE, New Zealand, Australia, and then Malaysia.
All right.
I don't know who's booking this, but somebody should get on it.
Plus the Cougar tour that I'm going to go on.
Yeah. So. I feel like you should maybe do Cougar Nation on your own. Like I'll just be here for backup.
Okay.
But, I wouldn't want to harsh your buzz. Sure. I can just hit buttons and record it, and you can be out there with your declassified folders, handing it to attractive women who, are like, we're grateful Joshua's here. I don't think Kathleen sounds like that, but I don't think she makes little noises like that.
Okay.
As usual, this episode is sponsored by our friends at Graveline Tours. If you go to graveline.rip, you will see that they have fantastic tours, and we are very excited that the Elizabeth Short / Black Dahlia tour starts in January, and the generous and handsome Adam is inviting us to dinner at the end of the year, just a small group of us. I can't wait. I hope it's not like at the Hollywood Forever Cemetery. We have to sit on like some, like Rudolph Valentino's grave and have a picnic or some weird shit. But knowing him, maybe. But yeah, so if you go to graveline.rip and in the promo area, you put Tipster 40, you get 40% off of any tour that you'd like to go on. And I can't recommend high enough how much fun it is, what a great experience it is. It's lovely. I'm trying to think of who recently was telling me about Christmas gifts and about, it was my friend Melissa. She said I could give my parents money or buy them another pair of golf shoes, but they can buy their own damn golf shoes. I'm taking them to see the Cincinnati Pops.
Oh, right on.
Yeah, it was and they went on Saturday night, and it was a lovely experience. And I was like, you know what? The older I get, I don't need stuff. The more and more I love the idea of experiences. Yeah. I think it's such a great gift. So if there's like a, macabre murder lover in your life, if yeah,
if you're listening right now, really, and
if you have ears,
kind of dig murder,
right? It's a great gift, and they do have gift cards or gift certificates. I found that out from a listener, Tipster Judy, who said she wanted to get something for her sister-in-law. It's a great gift. So yeah, just consider that, because they will absolutely set you up with a gift card or gift certificate. And I mean, that's how we fell in love with them, is because Joshua got me A Star Is Torn. No, Death Becomes Her. Death Becomes Her. For Christmas last year. Yeah. So you had no idea you set off this like rolling boulder of joy.
Not only did I not know, like I was super unsure about it.
I remember you were really tentative, and I was like, this is the best thing ever. And I think it's the thing I went on 30 years ago. And it is, but it's just so much better now.
Yeah.
It's so funny. Yeah.
Yeah. Like the description sounded amazing.
Right.
But who knows?
You were like, it's either going to be great or the cheesiest thing ever, but either way, it's going to be fun. And I was like, he's exactly right.
Right. Yeah, because either way, we would have gone together and had a good time.
Yeah.
Throwing eggs at... we would have been like the old guys from the Muppets, sitting in the back. And,
You're right.
Like making fun of them.
Yeah. That's hilarious.
But I knew we would have fun. But yeah, it exceeded the best expectations.
It really, really did. I was like, yeah, it was such a great experience. So yeah, I know I thanked you for my Christmas present last year, but thank you again.
Oh,
because it really is like the gift that keeps on giving.
Yeah, it really did.
So I wanted to thank our new YouTube subscribers, Trisha K, Lulu, and Swimming with Sharks, which is one of my favorite movies.
Swimming with Sharks. I don't know this movie.
Kevin Spacey.
Oh.
It's good. You would like it. It's more of an industry movie, but it's a good one where a assistant holds his like studio head boss hostage.
Oh.
It's really good.
Okay.
I mean, it's dark.
All right.
And funny, and I like it.
Okay.
I liked it a lot because I was assistant to people.
Oh, okay.
Loved I liked it a lot. That's just me.
Got it.
So this is one of the weirder things we've ever covered here. And part of it is going to go unanswered. There's one part that I dug and dug and dug and found out, aha, so we don't have the answer. But this was sent to us from Dr. Tony, and he sent it a while ago. And he goes, hey, here's a rabbit hole for you to go down. And I was like, yeah, sure. But then I started reading it. I'm like, God damn it, he knows me so well. This is the story of Hugo Selenski, and he lived in Pennsylvania. Well, still does. He's in prison. He's only 50. And when he was kind of a career criminal and like a fascinating weirdo. And I bet there's some really terrific like forensic psychologists who would want to just dig into that brain of his because he's like a real fascinating creature. It's almost like he thinks what he does, what he has done, like no one should really care.
Oh, okay.
It's actually, there's, recordings from prison with family members where he's like, look, if I did help them, do you really want to know? I mean, should you give a fuck?
Oh, wow.
And it's like, probably. And one of those conversations was with his father, who was dying of cancer.
Okay.
And I don't know if his father wanted to know before he left this earth or what, but the recordings are kind of an insight into how his brain works.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a fascinating guy. And he came from this pretty big family, apparently, and they all seem to adore him. Like his sisters, his brother, they all testified, in his defense at his trial.
Oh, wow.
I mean, it's a really interesting dynamic. I don't know if it's like a large family and there's just one clinker, like
sure.
this is, and I would say the runt of the litter because he is small. And his brother, who's testifying in court, looks like a mountain of a man.
Oh,
I haven't seen his sister, but his brother is super tall. And Hugo is, and big. His brother is tall and big. All of this happened when he, like I said, career criminal. He started very early, which you'll hear, but he got arrested because someone sort of threw him under the bus and explained sort of what happened when he was 30. And when you see him being walked into jail, he looks like he's 20.
Oh, okay.
He looks like a little college or high school boy. Like,
sure.
I think Hugo was a weird kid. The name Hugo Selenski, it sounds so like a romantic Russian spy.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Yeah, he's born in Sioux City, Iowa.
Okay.
Yeah. I went digging. I'm like, this guy has to be some
right.
like international criminal spy.
Sure.
Nope. Just kind of a fuck up born in Sioux City, Iowa. And guess what he was voted most likely to be in high school?
A serial killer?
Close. Most likely to be in detention for the rest of his life.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So his classmates actually did see it.
Yep.
Okay.
I think it was probably pretty easy to see he was going to just be, I don't know that he had a job. I do know he was, again, a career criminal. He spent a lot of time in Atlantic City. And I think maybe, inveterate gambler. If you spend a lot of time in, like, let's say Las Vegas or Atlantic City, you're probably either a hardcore gambler or you've got some ties to the underworld.
Sure.
Let's just, make a broad sweeping statement.
There's definitely some gray areas in towns like that.
Right. And I found out something new. I had no idea how to pronounce Wilkes-Barre. It's Wilkes-Barre.
Wilkes-Barre.
I would have thought Wilkes-Barre.
Wilkes-Barre. Okay.
Wilkes-Barre. Barre.
I'm sorry. What is Wilkes-Barre?
Oh, Pennsylvania. It's a city in Pennsylvania.
Okay.
Yeah, I've seen it a lot of times written down, and I would always have thought it was Wilkes-Barre.
Got it.
Like Guillaume Barre, but no, it's Wilkes-Barre. So the weird thing is, here's Hugo Selenski, and a man gets arrested for a burglary and assault, and he goes, hey, so I can do less time, How about I tell you where there's bodies buried in Hugo Selenski's backyard?
Oh, just some random that he had mentioned to. Like somebody, he confessed to some random guy, or?
No. They either did it together.
Oh, okay.
So they pointed the finger at each other.
Got it. Okay.
So this, this man, it was like, he did this and I know where these things are. And Hugo Selenski is like, we were friends. I don't know what he's talking about. How could he bury people in my yard? But I guess he did.
Oh, geez.
Right.
Okay.
So it's like, there's no honor among serial killers.
Well, sure. Once you're turning each other in.
Right.
Yeah.
But it's for the most, I mean, they always say there's, 3 reasons to kill: sex, money, or revenge.
Uh-huh.
I'm just always under the impression it's, very rarely revenge, mostly, a sexual crime, or you want someone's life insurance or something.
Sure.
This is money. And to me, to go to this length to steal from someone is just, to me, if you plot some sort of terrible, heinous thing for a family member to get life insurance, that's inexcusable. And yet somehow you can picture a lot of people doing that because they have done that.
Right.
This is so weird to me. I mean, I guess I kind of get it. You take a pharmacist and his girlfriend hostage. You want them to give you the location of tens of thousands of illegal dollars that they have hidden in their house, and they don't give it to you. And so you choke them out with zip ties.
Oh, wow.
Right.
Jeez.
So the thing is, they're Hugo Selenski, when the cops show up and say, hey, Weekly says you two did this together and there's bodies in your yard. And he's like, that's funny. Yeah, no, go ahead and look. There's no bodies in my yard. And there were 5. Right.
Oh, boy.
And one, we still don't know who it is.
Oh, wow.
I know. One set of remains have not been identified. The other 4 have.
Oh,
and wait till you hear the journey of this fucking weirdo and him going to jail and being indicted and not being charged, but not being convicted of it's the most fucked up. This story is so weird to me. So I know I have Mr. Weekly's first name. I just can't find it now, but I promise I'll get it for you. So they were arrested for beating up a man, but it was just Weekly who was arrested. And then he throws Hugo Selenski under the bus. Oh, no. And he's like, oh, by the way, there's these other 2 people that we have killed, a pharmacist and his girlfriend, trying to get information out of them. Oh, and there's also 2 other drug dealers who were street drug dealers. We killed them too. So that's 4.
That's the 4.
And then there's one set of remains on his property that are still unidentified. I know, it's the craziest thing. So apparently Hugo Selenski went through $100,000 of this deceased pharmacist money in 3 months. So he was already going to be serving a prison sentence for a home invasion robbery. But then this is when he finally goes on trial for the murder of the two people. So in June of 2003, there's, 5 bodies in Hugo Selenski's backyard. Michael Kurkowski, a pharmacist, his girlfriend, Tammy Fawcett. And then there's 2 alleged drug dealers, Frank James and Adie Kyler. And apparently he just would go around getting people who were drug dealers who he knew had a lot of money stashed somewhere and kill them for their money.
Take their
because who's going to report it, right?
I mean, it's not a bad plan.
It's the craziest thing. It's so crazy. So he's, he is arrested because of Mr. Weekly, and he is charged with the murders of Frank James and Adie Kyler. I don't know why he's not charged with, I guess that'll come later. So he's arrested in October of 2003. He's 30 years old.
Wow.
A few days later, he and a prisoner named Scott Bolton escaped from the high security area of the Luzerne County Prison in Wilkes-Barre.
Whoa.
4 days after he was arrested. He uses a string of 12 bed sheets to scale down the wall.
Whoa.
He used a broom to break through the window, bed sheets to scale down the wall. He carried a mattress with him and threw it over the razor wire and climbed over to freedom.
Whoa.
He's on the run for 3 days. Poor Scott Bolton, going down the sheets, landed on the roof and is permanently disabled and can't walk.
Oh, okay.
They find him on the roof and rush him to the hospital.
Oh, geez.
And Hugo Selenski is out for 3 days.
Okay.
On the loose for 3 days. So he had an aunt that hid him in an upstairs bedroom for 1 day, and then he left her house. And then he was dropped off. So he had this property. I don't think it was huge, but I think it was, a good enough size because a lot of people loved to use his property even when he wasn't there.
Okay.
They would ride ATVs. I think it had a pool, and I believe it had a little pond. I think there were people who would go on the property to go hunting. It's called the Back Mountain area of this, town in Pennsylvania. So he goes back to his house. Yeah, I don't think he ever planned on being out a long time. I don't know what he was doing. Maybe he was rearranging where he had, hidden money and to give it to people. I don't know. But he turns himself in when he's at his house. And he just here you go, take me.
He escaped and then just said...
3 days on the run. Maybe he just needed to get out to do some, paperwork.
Okay.
Yeah. So he turns himself in, and Scott Bolton, who went, escaped with him, and he was only in jail for like a burglary charge. So he is eventually sentenced to 9 to 12 years for escaping.
For the escape. Okay.
And for the burglary. And he is now wheelchair bound because of the injuries that happened during the escape. I know.
Wow.
It's like the craziest thing. Who would think in 2003 someone would use a broom to break through a window, tying sheets together to escape, a mattress over... I mean, that's pretty thought out.
And he did it quickly, though. You said he was only in for a few days.
4 days.
4 days, and he put that all together in 4 days.
Yeah, you usually have to have like access to the laundry or, whatever.
So he was only in for 4 days and planned this.
Arrested on the 6th, on October 6th, on October 10th, somehow got access to a broom, sheets, and his own mattress, which, if you think about it, is extremely smart to throw it over razor wire so you don't cut yourself.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, he's at least, a thoughtful killer. He would say he never killed anyone. And it's pretty fascinating. These trials, it's real interesting to me. So in February of 2006, a jury is finally seated, and Hugo stands trial for the murders of Frank James and Addie A. Kyler, the two supposed drug dealers.
Okay.
They're two of the people found in the backyard. So he's found not guilty.
Oh, he had their bodies in his yard, but they could... Wow.
He's sentenced to 2 to 4 years in state prison for burning the bodies.
So they proved that he had contact with the bodies. He burned them and buried them and whatever, but somehow he just found them murdered. Like, how do you...
I'm
How do you
wondering
not
if
pin the murder on him
he
also?
was starting a new herb farm and needed something to help the soil.
I hear drug dealers make good fertilizer.
Yes, they have a lot of like product in them. Don't smoke your own stash, whatever.
Right, nitrogen fixing.
Yes, they're very amending the soil with dead drug dealers.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not adverse to it. I don't like gardening. But I can see how somebody might think that would, I'm just taking a guess here. I don't know. I'm not a doctor.
Right.
So, after Luzerne County District Attorney's Office failed to get the conviction on those 2 cases, which is so odd to me, they filed charges against him for the murders of the other 2, the pharmacist and his girlfriend. Now, speaking of girlfriend, this entire fiasco was supposed to have been for him to get enough money to pay off a loan that his girlfriend at the time took out to buy a piece of property.
Oh.
I don't know what he was going to do with all this property. Maybe he was really going to start an herb garden, but probably not. It's alleged that Paul Weekly, that's his first name's Paul Weekly and Hugo Selenski strangled Michael Kurkowski and Tammy Fassett. I said Fawcett, but it's Fassett, to get information about where they were hiding all of this money. And that happened a year before the murders of James and Kyler, the alleged drug dealers. And Selenski is like, Paul Weekly had to have done this and used my property.
Okay.
And Paul Weekly is like, I just knew where they were buried. I would like less time for, me breaking into someone's house and assaulting them. And it was Hugo Selenski who did it. And he gets a life sentence because he agrees to testify against Hugo Selenski. So Paul Weekly is like, yeah, it's his property. And I don't know. I might have helped him or something. I mean, it's the craziest thing. How does somebody have 5 bodies in their backyard and they never, they get like, you're charged, you get 2 to 4 years for burning bodies. What? I don't, very rarely do I see, and I listen to a whole lot of podcasts, legal and true crime. Very rarely does somebody go on trial for murder and they are found not guilty. Just doesn't happen that often.
Yeah. I mean, because the DA prepares the case better. Like, I mean,
you have to have
it all set up. And then
I heard one recently that these people had to, lower the charge from first-degree murder to manslaughter. And it was Texas, which I see why they did it. And I could tell it pained them because they believed he did it. And he was like a kid who killed his whole family for money. A kid who had parents that were still together who loved him. And he had a good life and he was just a shit, and he got other people to do his dirty work. So they couldn't somehow get enough to tie him to these. Gotcha. He asked multiple friends to kill his family, multiple friends.
Until he found one that would?
Yeah, he found one that succeeded.
Oh.
2 tried and failed.
Oh, geez.
Yeah. Like broke through a back window and an alarm went off and then they ran.
Oh my gosh.
Another one tried something and got closer and the family's like, whew, that was close. That's weird that somebody would be that violent toward us. And then the next time, he wipes out 3/4 of his family. His dad lived.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. It's ugly, but I get why jurors, it was difficult for me to listen to, but I also understand. To me, it gave me hope that the legal justice system does work. Sure. It might be slow. It might be weird. It might take years, decades for actual justice to happen on both ends. Someone who is, wrongly convicted and people who don't get convicted until, they get decades of freedom for doing something terrible.
Right.
And then finally, hopefully something catches up with them. It's a fascinating system. I feel like we have the most, it's not, is it perfect? No, it needs a lot of help, but it is better than most everything else I've seen, and fairness on both sides.
Yeah. I mean, that's, you want it fair. Yeah. It's not perfect, but
right.
I want it to be, set up so an innocent person doesn't get wrongly
absolutely
convicted.
I still believe in professional jury pools. That's one thing Canada has on us that I think is...
Oh, they actually do that there?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
The one thing I don't like is if you murder someone, the most time you'd ever get is 25 years. They don't have a death penalty, which I understand that. I think 25 years probably isn't enough, depending on who you are and what you do.
Is that much different than here, though?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
You could be given 25 to life for murdering someone here. Not the death penalty, but 25 to life with no chance of parole.
Okay.
You get 25 years is the most you can ever serve.
Okay.
In Canada.
Got it.
But they have professional jury pools. They have people who understand the law.
Right. That's
why it was so interesting to me to see this group of people say, we just don't have enough to indict him on, on first degree murder.
Sure.
With the death penalty in Texas. Right. But we have enough to charge him on manslaughter. Yeah. And we would like to ask the judge to impose a life sentence on him. Which the judge did.
Okay.
Even though it's manslaughter.
For manslaughter.
Yeah. I mean, the judicial system in the United States is fascinating. So, all right. So in 2009, he goes on a trial. Hugo Selenski goes on trial for the home invasion robbery. That Paul Weekly is actually the one indicted first. And they said he and Paul Weekly broke into a jewelry store and then broke into the owner's home and assaulted him. So Paul Weekly is indicted for that. And then finally, Hugo Selenski goes on trial for that, home invasion and robbery that they said they did together. So Hugo is found guilty and sentenced to 65 years in state prison for that.
Wow.
I know. And Weekly is, given his sentence, but he had pled guilty and then pointed the finger at Hugo Selenski. So he got a lighter sentence.
Got it.
Yeah. So here's his second jury trial, which just happened in 2015. This is for Michael Kurkowski and Tammy Fassett. The DA says, what you're going to hear will shock you, will horrify you, and break your heart. So that's what the DA says about what Hugo Selenski did to these two people. In his defense attorney's opening statement, Hugo Selenski's attorney says, Paul Weekly did this. Paul Weekly demonstrated in court how he said he and Selenski bound the victims with zip ties and took turns torturing Michael Kurkowski to find out where he'd hidden tens of thousands of dollars. The defense called a dozen of its own witnesses to tarnish the credibility of Weekly.
Okay.
Including, Hugo Selenski's sister and brother. Like his brother is on the stand sobbing, big mountain of a man, sobbing when they play, jailhouse recordings of Hugo talking to his dad, because by then their dad had already passed away.
Okay.
And he hears his voice of his dad and he's like,
wow,
I don't believe Hugo had anything to do with this. I think he knew about this, but he didn't do this. Like he said, so many people had access to his property. I have to say several of the witnesses were like, yeah, he wasn't home a lot. And he said I could use it any time. And I rode my ATV, including, but not limited to, his niece and nephew who were kids.
Yeah. Okay.
Like traipse around my property. Don't find the bodies, but don't look there. Don't look there. No, don't look there. It's my herb garden. It's my herb garden. No, don't look there.
You can ride your ATVs. Just don't.
Yeah. Don't tear up the ground. And if a femur pops up, it's nothing. It's an old Halloween decoration.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they have a dozen witnesses, including his sister, Brooke, his younger sister, Brooke. It was so sweet on the stand. The DA is like, would you ever lie about your brother? And she said, absolutely not. Would you ever lie to protect him? Absolutely not. I guess you don't have to because your brother did enough lying. And she goes, never to me.
Oh, wow.
I mean, she was really like angry at this. And I don't know how you explain to your family, look, there might be 5 people in my yard. I don't know who they are.
Right.
Paul Weekly is an asshole. And he said he was a good landscaper. That is the truth. He actually had two different vans. One was sparkle cleaning, and one was like sparkling landscaping. So clean up and landscaping, Paul Weekly. Well, I know. Neighbors were like, I did see sparkle cleaning and sparkling landscaping vans several times. Right.
Yeah, okay.
Right. So after 2 days of deliberations, the jury found Hugo Selenski guilty on all charges except conspiracy to commit robbery on Tammy Fassett and solicitation for murder on Kurkowski. How many, charges did he has? Anyway, so Hugo Selenski was sentenced to life in prison in 2015. And this is, 11 years after he had escaped from, the Lucerne jail. So it's been 20 years since his escape. And after, he wouldn't talk to anyone before the trial. So like 2 hours after he's given the life sentence, he talks to a local news station in Wilkes-Barre. And he says, as far as the verdict, it's hard to say, but I respect it. I'll live with it. And I stand by my innocence. In his opinion, Hugo Selenski explained that the jury went the wrong way, but that was because of, his former partner in crime, Paul Weekly. When he was asked how the bodies of Tammy Fassett, Michael Kurkowski, and 3 other people ended up in his property, he said, that's a question I'd like an answer to.
Yeah, okay.
So I wanted to show, I know it's a terrible thing to show pictures on a podcast, but I wanted to show the young picture. Look at this little face. Look at that little Hugo Selenski.
Oh,
is he not the cutest little thing?
Yeah.
I don't really say that often, but he was a cute kid.
Dude gets lots of letters and.
Now I'd like you to see a picture of him now.
Oh. Yeah, prison's not very good for him.
He looks.
I'm
dead.
This is sure 2023. He still gets letters though.
Yeah, shaved head. He's got pretty bone structure.
Yeah.
But he looked at 30. He looked like a cute college boy.
Yeah.
This is him at 50, Joshua.
If he's not bad for 50 though.
Yes, he is.
Okay.
He looks like a monster. I'm sorry, but he looks like a monster.
I'm not gonna start writing him letters, but I'm
no,
imagining.
Me either.
I'm imagining. There's. He can
look. This little boy would get like a lot of letters.
Yeah.
He was literally. I can't even believe I'm saying this, but every picture he's got like this cute little, almost like a Mona Lisa grin. Like it's almost like a half grin. Not like a big stupid smile, like a crazy person, but it's like his little, I don't know, the corners of his mouth go up or something. And then look at him now. He looks like he eats rats. It's crazy. Sorry. It's weird. And maybe you're right. Maybe 20 years in prison. I just assume he'd be the kind of guy that goes in and like kind of rules the place, but maybe he hasn't had that opportunity.
Sure.
And he and Paul Weekly are separated. He's still in Pennsylvania. Paul Weekly is in Terre Haute, Indiana.
Okay.
So they're not able to converse or something. But so he tried to appeal, and the Pennsylvania Superior Court, and I love this, it's a 58-page opinion. This was Friday. It was in September of this year. September 8th of 2023. Okay. So a couple of months ago, the Pennsylvania Superior Court issued a 58-page opinion denying Hugo Selenski any type of relief. They dismissed all of his reasons why he believes he is entitled to a new trial. So, of course, the first thing he says is, his trial lawyers were ineffective. This ruling was a 3-member panel in the appellate court of Luzerne County. And under the state's Relief of Post-Conviction Act, they were like, nope, you don't get shit. So, of course, he says, the trial lawyers were ineffective in questioning witnesses, mostly Paul Weekly. I get it. And during his jury trial held in January and February of 2015. He further challenged his trial lawyers faltered during the 3-week trial before the DA not calling certain witnesses. There were 12 witnesses on his behalf. How many more should you need? I think that his attorneys did a good job of bringing friends, family, whatever.
Sure.
I feel like there's just, if there's enough evidence. And how did he not? Anyway, I know. I'm just going to. So the jury opted to punish Selenski with life in prison without parole instead of the death penalty, which the first district attorney had sought. Because he was convicted on 2 first-degree murder counts, including robbery and conspiracy, he was sentenced to 2 life terms plus 56 to 120 years. And that was in 2015.
Wow.
So these, the bodies of Michael Kurkowski and Tammy Fassett were found buried under a mixture of, maybe I was right, natural soil, store-bought topsoil, and coal.
Coal?
Yeah.
Huh.
Maybe he was starting a coal farm.
Can you plant that?
I don't know. What do I know?
Coal tree?
Yeah.
Huh. So, yeah, they probably dug stuff up and then just made it look like, oh, we're planting something here or whatever.
Yeah, planting coal.
Yeah.
I don't know. So Paul Weekly said that he and Hugo Selenski had beaten the victims with a baker's rolling pin before suffocating them with flex ties. The motive was to get the money that they'd, hidden in their house as, drug dealers. Or this pharmacist, Michael Kurkowski, had pled guilty to administering 300,000 pain pills illegally.
Wow.
300,000.
300,000
pain pills.
So, yeah, he's got some money hidden somewhere.
Well, so
yeah.
At first it was like, oh, we wanted to get $11,000 from him to pay off this loan my girlfriend, had signed for a piece of property. And then it was like, how did he spend $100,000 of Michael Kurkowski's money in 3 months?
Wow.
Yeah, I don't think they're ever really going to know like what actually happened,
Sure.
Yeah. So Hugo had more than a dozen issues in his appeal, including evidence from that robbery and assault of the jewelry store owner that Paul Weekly actually got convicted for. And it was because Paul Weekly got picked up for that he's like, by the way, Hugo Selenski has 5 bodies in his yard.
Trusted the wrong guy.
Yeah. Based upon our thorough review of Hugo Selenski's post-conviction relief petition, the trial court and PCRA records, the court's opinion, and appellate beliefs, we conclude that each of these claims fails. The Superior Court ruled in upholding the denial of relief for Selenski. He's currently housed in the State Correctional Institute in Fayette. They don't say which one. Southwestern Pennsylvania. Interesting shit, huh?
Yeah, wow.
I mean, what a life. Like, he escapes using sheets, a broom, and a mattress. And that's in 2003. That just sounds like something out of a Paul Newman and Robert Redford movie.
When you said that, I pictured Cool Hand Luke running through with the hound dogs chasing him.
It just sounds so like from a movie or something. But it's actual life. And here's this 50-year-old man in prison.
Yeah. I wonder what he did in those 3 days. Like, I wonder what he set up. Like, if he knew he was going away for a long time
and going to his house to turn himself in,
and then
after 3 days,
he took care of something for.
I think so.
And yeah,
I wonder if we'll ever know.
I feel like he must have handed somebody money or documents or something to set it up.
That's a really great thought. I hadn't thought about that. What I would like to know is, will anyone ever say who the other body is? The unidentified remains.
That's a good question.
If they're pointing fingers, if Paul Weekly's like, look, it's his yard, I don't know what he buries in there. And he's like, it was my yard, but I wasn't home a lot and everybody had access. I don't know who these maybe people just thought it was a good burial area.
Sure.
Maybe I was starting a funeral home. I just didn't apply for the correct certificate.
Yeah.
The whole thing is fascinating to me. So Dr. Tony, thank you for, when he sent it to me, I'm like, I'm not gonna go down a rabbit hole. And then I'm like, hippity hoppity, Easter's on its way. So yeah, thank you, Dr. Tony.
Thank you, Dr. Tony.
It's a pretty fascinating case in my mind. I mean, if you want to look at pictures of him, I think you'll agree with me. I'll include them with the show notes. But yeah, he's a fascinating dude. So if, like Dr. Tony, you have any a missing person or unsolved homicide that you would like us to cover, or if you just have a case suggestion, you can give us a call at the Tipster hotline at 832-TIPSTER. That's 832-847-7837. You can email us at jttipsters@gmail.com. You can find us on any of the social media platforms, just the Tipsters Facebook page, at JT Tipsters on Instagram, at JT Tipsters Pod on Twitter, and more cowbell.
If you would like to support this podcast and get early access and other cool murderous swag, go to patreon.com/justthetipsters.